Hello, everyone. Welcome to Queerly Recommended, the podcast where we recommend queer films, books, TV shows, and more. I'm Kris Bryant, a contemporary romance writer for Bold Strokes Books, and this week I'm recommending a 2017 documentary.
And I'm Tara Scott. I review sapphic fiction at the Lesbian Review and Smart Bitches Trashy Books. And this week I am recommending a graphic novel.
Ooh.
As always, we just want to take a moment to thank everybody who's supporting the show, whether you're contributing to our coffee, signing up for the newsletter. We do have links to both in the show notes. Thank you again for everyone who's reviewed or rated on the podcast apps. And if you haven't told a friend yet and you think somebody does need more of these how to find the good queer media, just tell them all about it. Kris, there's been great news.
Yay. I like great news.
I know, right? So for those who listen pretty regularly, you already know if it's been a little while and you're tuning in again, we have stopped promoting anything under the strikes that have been happening in Hollywood, which basically means anything that is scripted that has been made since 1960 or whatever it was, the last time SAG-AFTRA struck. But the WGA came to an agreement. So we're recording this on Sunday, October 1st. So as of this time, WGA hasn't voted on it yet, but it's pretty exciting with writers getting things like pay raises, minimum staffing numbers on writing rooms, which is huge because some of the companies have been trying to get smaller and smaller writing rooms on TV shows. There's some things around residuals and even limits around how AI can be used. So
good.
Kudos to everyone on that negotiating team who fought so hard to bring these protections in. And I think with the AI stuff in particular is quite exciting. I think it would have been great if it had been even stricter, but considering who the writers were negotiating with, I think what they got was still pretty fantastic. I can't remember all of it offhand, but it does mean things like, a writer isn't just going to be handed some script that, ChatGPT barfed out and told, fix the hallucinations, fix the plot holes. Like, that's not going to be possible. Do you have any thoughts on what this could mean for authors?
So I have a lot of thoughts about, well, how do I want to say this? I have a lot of thoughts about AI.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start there. Yeah, I'm a little concerned about how it is going to hit our industry. And if AI or whoever's going to be promoting or writing under AI, like what that's going to do, because there are so many self-published writers out there. And how are we going to know what's AI and what's not? I mean, literally, that is a question I have for you. Like, how are we going to know? I don't know. I really don't. I don't know a lot about it. I just know it's exploded. It has exploded. And I will say this, I sell on eBay, and now there is a button I can click and it says, would you like AI to do the full description of your thing that you're selling? And I hit it and it goes into great detail about, like, because I'm selling football cards and I do other stuff too, and it like gives you like several, paragraphs of information about this particular item that I don't have to go out and look for. So it is, I don't know what to do with AI. It has made my job easier on eBay if I use it. I normally don't, because I always like to put something fun in the descriptions that isn't AI generated. But also, I mean, people can just list, and it blows my mind. Like, this all of a sudden just came up. Like, it's now a button and you can hit it. And so many people, I'm sure, who aren't writers are just like, oh, this is going to make my job a whole lot easier and faster on eBay. So, I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. They're not really good feelings.
Yeah, that I think makes a ton of sense. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on it too, because I think we've been pretty honest on the podcast about the fact that we have day jobs. We need things like healthcare benefits and
exactly
paying our mortgage. And I work in like my day job is in a particular subspecialty of marketing, but like all over marketing, it's just tons of people do this with AI, do this with AI. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to keep more of like a wait and see attitude about it. I've tried to use ChatGPT here and there. I've tried to use it to say like summarize a call that I had with a client, and it
Mm.
was garbage. Actually, no, I tried to use the AI that was built into Notion for that because I heard another person who does the kind of marketing that I do say, "Oh, it's amazing for this." And it's like, yeah, if you want the most surface level report of a
Mhm.
call, sure, go for it. But if you want like the good details, it's not great for that. I tried using it to like, "Oh, can you give me," and the thing that I found, and maybe my bias is that I began my career as a copywriter. I don't know if I ever told you that, but I was a copywriter for like 7 years
Me
before I did
too.
anything. Were you?
I was a copy editor out of college. Uh-huh.
See.
Daisies.
um, so I mean, I do have a bit of a bias when it comes to writing anyway, just because of that. And like to be good at a lot of types of marketing, you have to be a good writer. And so I would have it try to like, okay, can you just give me a draft and then I can work with that?
Nope.
And it sucked. Like what I got back was not good. But I went for dinner recently with some of my former colleagues, and one of them, she also went on to another company. And I said, "Are you using it for anything?" And she said, what she's doing is she makes a shitty draft and then puts it in Chat GPT and has it fix it up. And I was like, "Ooh, this is
That's an idea.
interesting."
Right.
I might try that to see if it's like a time saving thing, but I don't know. She was talking about working at a company where they sell software that can be used for building courses. So like Kris, if you, for example, if you said, "I'm going to build a course and I'm going to charge people $500, and when they take my course, they're going to know how to write a novel." So
Mm.
it's you kind of distilling all your stuff. So you could do that. And they've built it in now. So you can go, and when you sign up for it, you can say, "This is what I'm going to do." And they will basically pre-populate a first draft for
Wow.
you of the content. And that was when I started to get a little spooked. It's like,
Right.
that's
I don't
not
think we're getting away from
great.
this. I don't think we're getting away from this.
No,
We're not at all.
especially, I think a big revelation for me too, that's happening at the same time was one of my very favorite podcasts is called If Books Could Kill. I don't know if we've talked about that one before,
I don't think so.
but we have talked about maintenance phase. So Michael Hobbs from Maintenance Phase does this other podcast, If Books Could Kill, with his friend Peter. Peter is a lawyer. And it's basically, what are the big, they call them airport books. Like, what are the books that
Mm.
are so big that you will find them in any airport? Kind of. So it was, like The Secret, the Five Love Languages, Freakonomics, like these kinds of. And the most recent one they did was the 4 Hour Work Week, which I had never read, but have you heard about it?
No, I haven't. But
Oh, wow. Okay. It's like, it was a huge, huge, huge book. It's by Tim Ferriss. It took the business world by storm because the thing that he says, though, like what it really comes down to isn't, you work 4 hours a week and then you have leisure the rest of the time. It's about trying to like productivity hack
mm,
all of your time or something like that. But one of his things in there is like, if you want to find a way to like build audience and make money for yourself, you need to become an expert in something, but you don't actually have to become an expert. You just have to know enough so that you can talk about it so that people trust you and think you're an expert.
mm.
Which when Peter and Michael were talking about that, and it's like, oh yeah, no wonder why we've gotten to this world where everybody is an expert in something and follow them and buy their stuff. And it's like, oh shit, now we're adding AI on top of that.
Mm.
It's like we're throwing steroids on on the whole fake expert situation. So, yeah, I am kind of nervous about it, but
Mhm.
I think the reason why I'm not like full on panicking about AI is there's a certain point at which they're going to run out of material to train these different models, right? Like even OpenAI, who does Chat GPT, like they're constantly looking for sources of what can we train it on now? We need to keep training on it. But so much of the content that's making its way to the internet right now is also being created by these AI learning models.
Mhm.
And I'm probably saying some of the terminology a little bit wrong, but like so much of the with some even media sites choosing to, we used ChatGPT to write this article and it was cleaned up by a human and whatever. And so there might be a point at which for a while the internet gets much shittier because there's going to be all this content that was created not by humans that's being put there. But as the models start training on content that was created by AI, they might just, it might be like the snake that eats its own tail. Like they
Or
might
it could
end up breaking
explode
themselves.
and gobble up everything else. I mean, Skynet, did we not learn anything from Terminator?
Well, see, that's the thing. Is
Come on.
also the people that are saying, no, this could kill all of humanity are the people who created the problem in the first place. And they're saying, no, we need to legislate it. Let us tell you how we should legislate it. Oh, politicians. And it's like, guys, fuck off. Like,
Yeah.
if anyone is actually scared about Skynet, like, go read what Emily Bender has had to say about it. Go follow, I think her name is Timnit Gebru. Emily Bender is the one who talked about it as like stochastic parrots. There was the big article that she did. But these things aren't smart. They don't have a consciousness. They're like,
Right.
her point is they're like parrots. Like ChatGPT is the world's best. Which word should I choose next? Generator. It doesn't mean it's thinking, even if it feels like it, if you're having a conversation with it, it's still just predicting the next best word to use, which is how you end up with some of the fuck ups, which they're calling hallucinations, things that are completely untrue, and how you end up with like that lawyer who got in trouble because he used ChatGPT to try to like write some legal documents. And yeah, like there are some good people to follow about that. When it comes to the, like, to go back all the way back to what you were saying though about novels, like what does it mean for fiction? I think that's where ultimately I actually have some of the most hope, because you can't truly fake a voice. It comes across as hollow. So you can absolutely say, ChatGPT, write me a poem in the style of Edgar Allan Poe. And, you know, some of these really, really, really well-trained models can absolutely fake the voice of some author. But to say, come up with something new, I don't think they can do that.
Yeah, but
And
that's the
that's
here
what,
and now.
well,
I mean, computer
like,
chips in cars. Like
sure.
30 years ago, they didn't exist, you know, but now.
Yeah, that's not really, see, I think the difference there though is that, like, I guess what I'm trying to get at is it's almost like you need a soul to be able to bring that individual voice as a writer, right? And AI is never going to have that.
Unless
And
they steal
people,
ours.
well, good luck. You're not going down without a fight. But
Right.
I just think that people follow unique voices in fiction much
True.
more than, that's been, anyway, my experience as a critic and in talking to other kind of other critics and other readers and spending time in reader spaces. Yes, we love tropes, and a trope might get us to pick up one book, but it won't get us to pick up a second book if that first one we pick up is shitty. If we find that that author can't write, if it's poorly edited, if there's, you know, just these major plotting issues or character issues or whatever it is. So I think we might see, yeah, there might be a lot of people who would show up to read one book because they're curious. But if they find it's not bringing anything special or new, how do you get to that special? I guess
I
is
think
what
there
I'm
are some
wondering.
people who just read to read because they want the content. They don't care like how poorly it was written or created. They want that content. They need, like, I need more of, you know, CEO and nannies. I need more hookups like that. And like they can get, these are the same people who like go to the dark web to get free books, to get whatever. I feel like there's just this need to read more and more and more of what they want. And sometimes they don't care what the quality is. They just want that. It's kind of like the same people who want the 300,000 word books for 99 cents on Kindle instead of, you know, paying the 75,000 words on, like, just like through a publishing company. I feel like they don't care about, well, I say they don't care about the quantity or the quality. I think some of them don't really care. They just want to read. And I feel
Well,
like
yeah, if you're
AI
not,
will take that. I mean, I love my readers. Like, they are true fans of the writing style that I have. But also there are some people out there that just want to read, you know, and, you know, I
I
can't combat
mean,
that.
maybe, but at the same time, if those are people who aren't paying for your book anyway,
Yeah,
those are people
right,
who, if we look at it from an economic standpoint, those people aren't actually customers of publishing companies.
right.
So they may not actually end up winning out. What they might do instead is say, "Hey, ChatGPT, I want to see a book where a pastry chef falls in love with an astronaut. Can you tell
Are
me
you
that,
giving away my
please?"
latest book?
Oh no, I'm so sorry. I meant to keep it quiet. So I don't
Love
know.
out
I
of
mean,
this world.
maybe you're right. I'm hopeful that I might be right, only because if people aren't following authors, I think there are more people that follow authors than there are people who will read literally any old piece of garbage that pay for books. That
Right,
that
that
part
pay for
that
books.
part
Oh,
that
for
part is
sure.
important. The
For
paying for
sure.
books part
Yes.
is an important part of that equation. So, um
Yes.
yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
congrats to the WGEA members. We hope your vote goes well, and we hope that SAG-AFTRA also comes to their own agreement soon. So we're continuing to not promote scripted things until they get theirs as well, but we can't wait to catch y'all up on everything. I feel like we almost need to do our like what I watched on my summer vacation report.
I think so too.
hmm But
Yeah.
for now, what have you been reading or watching?
Okay, so Alone Australia,
hmm
it's like it skips a week. So it was on and I was like, "Yay, it's on." And then this past week it was not on. So
Oh,
like it's still a shitty environment. I think people are dropping like flies. And I bet you that's probably why they're stretching it out is because like the whole season is
mm.
probably like 27 minutes and they have to break it down into, you know, 8 episodes because it is just awful. And
Are
I
they
can't imagine that they would have another Alone Australia ever again.
are they seeing like the spiders as big as our face? Because that would be
No,
I'd
yeah.
see one of those and I'd be like, goodbye.
Like
No.
the only thing that lives in like it's all it's just a sweaty place. It's moist. It's a moist place. There, I got to use moist in a
Is there
sentence.
is there food for them there?
So that's just it. They have to like there might be I don't even know that there are berries in this one. Usually, you know, they can go by with berries, but they're trying to catch like fish with 3 eyes and eels and
Jesus Christ.
like it is not these people basically I need to go on alone because that's how my diet's going to go down. It has to be an alone diet for it to work. But no, I don't know like some people haven't had anything to eat in days, like 10 days. So
No.
I'm just like, how? What do you eat? There's nothing there. It's all swampy. Everything is it's like a bog. It's like real wet everywhere. And the water is like stagnant. It's just awful. Like I wouldn't want to eat anything out of there. Like
Is
there's no way.
is there drinkable water?
No, they have to, you know, heat it and stuff like this. And this one guy, like they try to catch it. Some people are trying to catch the water with their tarp,
hmm
you know, and so
hmm
that's one way to get fresh water. And this one guy he hasn't had a fire. He didn't pick a flint as his one of, you know, they get 10 items. He did not pick flint. He's like,
What?
I won't need fire like to stay warm or to process water. He's like, I don't need that for that. I can't remember if he's one of the ones that's out yet or not. Maybe not.
Oh man,
But
if not, he's gonna die. He's gonna be like the guy in the first season that had to go home because he started hallucinating.
yeah, either that or yeah, I mean, like I said, this whole thing is probably 27 minutes and we're just seeing bits and pieces of
Oh,
every
truly.
location. I mean, like last week there was somebody on and I'm like, who is this person? Like, I don't even remember seeing this person. But then again, it's been so freaking long between episodes that I'm forgetting who
Mm.
these people are. But I'm staying because there are still 2 women.
That's exciting.
Yes, yes.
That's exciting. I before we started recording, I told you I sort of stalled out on season 2, not
Mhm.
because I don't like it, but because I switched back to something that I'll talk about in my what I'm watching section. But there's one woman left, and I'm
Ah,
like,
ah.
go! But also, she has MS, so there is a part of me that's like,
Oh yeah.
you don't have medication with you.
Yeah, that's
Are you gonna be able
okay.
to? She was the one who's like, she's naturally treating it with like herbs and stuff, which like fair enough if it's working. It seems like she's in incredible shape, but like, does the very tip of Vancouver Island have the herbs that she needs?
Probably not. I don't know. I can't say because I don't remember because it's been a while.
I know it's long over, but I worry. And a couple of the guys are so skinny that like
Yes.
I'm starting to like, I know that it's all over and there will be an article I can look up for where are they
Mhm.
now, but I still worry
Yeah, for sure. I
because
mean,
like they're not okay. So,
yeah, and they'll pull them for health reasons. Like
oh,
they'll
do
go and
they?
what? Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
good.
So they do med checks, and they will have them stand on a scale to see where they are, and they say, "Oh, this person has lost 34% of their overall weight,"
Oh, so
and
they actually go
they pull
to
them.
them to
Yeah,
do
they go
the
to
med.
them, right, to do the med
Oh,
checks. And if they don't tap out, then they're like, some people are like very upset for getting pulled from the game because they've just lost
mm,
way too much.
yeah.
At that point, you're living off of adrenaline. You're not living off of the land or anything because you're super thin because you've lost so much weight. And that's why
Yeah.
people have gained. People, like, I see these people who get on and they're like, 110-pound, woman from, I'm like, yeah, no, you're out. Like, you won't last. Like, they
No.
think that they can last and they can't. Like, if you have nothing to
Mhm.
lose, if you have no body fat to lose, you're not going to last on the show. You just
I
won't. Like,
I felt so bad for the woman. So this is the season where the one woman, she had to go because she cut her hand with her axe.
oh yeah,
But also, I don't know how long she would have lasted being it. She's exactly kind of what you described, like that
right,
tall, thin. Like I'm sure she's very strong. But
right.
there was also a part of me that was, I think I texted this to you because she has, trying to remember how old her oldest daughter is. She was like 3 or 4 at the time. I think she's maybe 4, which, okay, fine. But also a baby that was
Mm.
clearly, like, under 1, and she's like, "Yeah, my mom's gonna watch them," and I was like, and I was trying really hard not to judge, like, I don't think I do judge, but I don't understand. Like, I
Right.
sort of understand, like, let's go after $500,000, but, like, also when your baby's not even 1, like, that's when you're doing that big bonding with
Hmm.
your baby.
And maybe it was a case where like 9,000 people sign up for it and
Yeah.
it was a lottery type thing. And it's like, it's either now or never type thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get that part too, but it's
Especially
hard. I get
well,
it's
that's
hard.
this season seemed to be the first. I don't know how aware the first season was, but this season they were very clearly aware of the $500,000.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I suppose when you're a single mom raising a baby and a
You're
kid.
going to want that money. Yeah. See, so here it is. So this is another thing I'm watching.
Mhm.
Survivor just started. I watched the season
Oh,
opener
yeah.
and everybody, so here's how it works. In Survivor, like even if you're the first person voted out, you still get a minimum amount of money. I think it's like $2,500 all
Oh,
the way up
cool.
to like, 500,000. And and
Does it
each
ramp
person,
like for
yeah, it
each like
ramps
if
up. Yes.
ooh.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
but that's not how alone works. It's
No.
either all or nothing. It's like you fight this through. I just want to tell these people, just go on Survivor. If you're looking
Yeah.
to make money and you want to do this, like Survivor is so tame compared to Alone. So it's
Yes.
so ridiculous. Like it's so at first I thought, oh, Survivor, oh, this is cool. And then you watch Alone, you're like, okay, yeah, no, that's a whole different level of survival. So, oh, speaking of survival, let me tell you something cool that happened real quick.
Okay.
This is just like off the cuff. Sorry. I'm like, yeah. Debbie and I went kayaking yesterday at the lake because
Mhm.
it's nice here. It's freaking 92 degrees and it's October 1st.
What?
So we went kayaking and I caught a fish with my bare hand. Woo! I'm gonna
Whoa.
send you a picture of it right now.
All right. Oh my god, this is amazing. Aw.
So I know, like a little tiny fish.
Did you put it back or did you keep
Oh
it?
no, I put it back. I
Yeah.
told Debbie, hurry up, take the picture so I can put it back. Hurry up,
Aw,
hurry up. A little tiny fish.
that little fish.
And it's funny. I'm like swimming around in circles. I'm like, I'm going to get you because it like was kind of swimming where I could see it. And I'm like, I kept like doing circles. I'm like going crazy trying to get this fish. And Debbie's off yonder taking pictures of like blue herons and like things flying over the lake. And I'm like struggling trying to catch this itty bitty little fish
So
with
cute.
my hands. So I'm watching Survivor, and I will say, like, Survivor is very queer. Like, it used to not be. I mean, I think it always has been, and it just was never.
Wasn't the first winner gay, but not out at the time?
Yes. I feel like, yeah, Richard Hatch.
The one season I watched.
Which was horrible. That was like the worst season ever. I think the first season of any survival show is bad because nobody knows what to expect. They think they do, but they don't. So anyway, where was I? Oh yeah. So a lot of queer people on pretty much all of the seasons, just not necessarily out, but definitely identifiable. And I feel like as we progress, I think this is season 45 of Survivor.
Good
and
Lord.
I think that they're a lot more comfortable coming out. And so I think that it's just a matter of time before we see more like people coming out on this season. So I know for sure there's one for sure, like bet my life on it. Okay. And I'm still watching football. Still watching football. That is my thing. And my team is doing okay. They don't have the best record, but they're first in our division. And like I said earlier, I'm still hot and heavy with the football cards. And I'm participating in a lot of the TikTok breaks. I don't know if you've seen any of those on. Anyway, they do TikTok breaks. I know. So people like quote unquote companies, they open up football cards. Like they have like a pack of cards and you pick your team, you pay like $20 for your team. And so it has all the teams. And then you get all the cards for your team in that pack. So I do a lot of TikTok breaks. And so then I get all like my Chiefs or whatever. And so if you're into that, I follow 208 sports cards. So they're anyway, so it's a long story, but I've been doing that. And I've been putting things on eBay because also Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Travis Kelce is our okay. So Travis Kelce is right. Travis Kelce is our tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he has been here forever. Everybody loves him. And Taylor Swift came to the game last weekend because she is quote unquote dating him.
Oh. Okay.
So, and it's funny because they don't call him Travis Kelce anymore. He's Taylor Swift's boyfriend. So I get to put my football cards on as Taylor Swift's boyfriend on my eBay store. And so that's kind of fun. And AI can't write that shit for me. So I write that stuff. So that's a lot of fun.
Not if you're trying to attract the Swifties.
Right. I am trying to attract the Swifties because jersey sales went up like 400%. Like Taylor Swift came in here and like they never. So in football games here in the United States, football games, what they do is like during commercial breaks, they'll show like bits and pieces of the city. They'll show like statues and like fountains, and Kansas City's really pretty. I will say that we have a very pretty town. And so none of it, they all went to Taylor Swift every time there was a commercial break. They do the 10-second snip of like Taylor, like taking a drink or, chest bumping somebody or whatever. And that was like a big deal last week was she was here in town. And yeah. So anyway, that is kind of what's been going on in my life. What about you? What are you reading, watching, eating, whatever we're doing? What are the things?
So a new Drag Race UK has started. I'm not sure how to think yet. It's too soon to tell. There's only been one episode. There's some queens that look pretty good. There's some that I have questions about. But it turns out I was trying to look up something related to the. Oh, I know what I was trying to look up. So I noticed something that I've never seen in any season of any of the drag races before, which is that like anytime there was some kind of a product being used, which let's be honest, if we're talking about drag queens, it's mostly makeup products.
Right.
Or products they use to remove their makeup. But there was like black electrical tape over any brand names. So you could say it's a makeup palette and the palette is called like Hot Glam. I'm making that up. There's none called that. But so Hot Glam would be left alone. But say it came from a company like Anastasia Beverly Hills, that would be blocked out. And I was like, what? And there was even one who was using olive oil to take her makeup off, which I don't think I've seen on the show before. But like the bottle was wrapped except where it said extra virgin olive oil. And I was like, what is up with that? Is this
that's
like a BBC
name
thing?
Brand. It's
yeah,
probably,
like
yes.
So I tried to look that up and I found nothing. But what I did find was people on Reddit talking about how there was supposed to have been another queen this season who was edited out because of sexual assault allegations,
Oh.
which is
Oh.
not good, of course. And there was, so I think it was season 12 of the regular US one, where somebody who got like very far in the competition before, I can't remember, it was specifically sexual assault and grooming, or just like
Jesus.
trying, yeah. So, which I even hesitate to say, because of course, like the groomer language and the way it's being used against queer people in general and drag queens in specific. But I mean, if one individual person has done something bad, it should be okay to talk about it. And so with that particular contestant, it showed up too late for them to edit her out. So what they tried to do was just kind of reduce the prominence and then disqualify from being able to be in the finale. But in this case, I couldn't really tell. It's not evident that there was an 11th one there, but I will say that towards the end, it was edited very weirdly.
Oh.
In the untucked section. Like the way the shots move and how people are within frame is so weird that I kind of think there might be something to the rumors. So I'm curious to see how the rest of this season goes. Also, I know they caught some shit because people were complaining because all the queens are performing, we'll say, within England. Because one of them is from Poland originally. One of them is actually from Atlanta, but she moved to the UK for university and stayed there. But there's no queens from Scotland, Northern Ireland, or Wales. So it's like, we're calling it Drag Race UK, but it's not really UK. It's Drag Race England.
London, England. Yeah.
So we'll see. I think I'm more interested in the drama around this season than the actual season itself so far, but I'm hoping they'll turn it around for me. Couple episodes, I talked about the big Nailed It baking challenge.
Oh, yeah.
I made it 1 or 2 episodes, and then I started watching Alone. And so I put Alone on pause for this show. I have all but 1 episode left. And honestly, like Kris, it's super fun. I think you might like this one.
Oh, cool.
It doesn't feel quite as gentle as the Great British Baking Show or Great British Bake Off.
I missed that.
But like, it's not mean at all. It's just like the vibe is a little more fun and American and less like twee and in the countryside that one has. And I think one of my favorite moments, I can't remember how many episodes in, but Jacques takes a bite of cake and he goes, "Nicole, the cake is good. That never happens here." And it's true, because they go for, so I'm actually partway through the final episode now, but these people went from, they were all terrible bakers at the beginning, to now, would we hire all of the finalists to do, like, say, a gorgeous wedding cake? Possibly not, but like they make cakes that taste really good and they look pretty okay. So it's been really cool to see the progress from, because also with like Great British Bake Off, it's, these people are excellent bakers. Can they go from excellent to
phenomenal?
Yeah, exactly. Phenomenal, professional, like whatever. This is more of a going from interested in baking to being an extremely competent baker. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Like people who can be proud of their cakes. So I think that's really cool. And I love that because one of the other things they did that's different than I've seen in any other show, because they know they need to teach these people, they have these 2 experts that are there to guide them on, okay, this is the technique that you're learning this week. So each week they learn a new skill. Yeah. It's so cool.
I think that's with everybody. I think if you have a big enough kitchen, big enough counter space, and the time, and even just a general interest in baking, I think you can do it. It's not like, baking isn't that hard. Like, if I can bake, then that, if I can make a cake and make it look good, I mean, it's just a matter of taking the time to learn new techniques. Like you said, if I had somebody there, I could probably put out a pretty good birthday cake.
Yeah,
I think so. Because I'm kind of a perfectionist. Like, if I have to make a birthday cake, or if I'm asked to make a birthday cake, like, I know how to make it straight. I know how to do the, the layers. I know how to do the frosting. I know how to do all that. And it was a learning thing. It's like I made myself COVID I was very sad because my birthday was in May of 2020 and like everything
Oh
was shut down
no.
then. So I was very
Yeah.
sad. So I made myself rainbow cupcakes and they didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. But as soon as I made them, I knew exactly what I did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like just time and space, and just a
Yes.
general interest. I think anybody can really rock the shit out of anything if they
Yeah.
just had the time and space.
I think that's exactly right. And I think, having such an emphasis on learning versus proving what you've already learned
Mhm.
previously is something that was really cool. And I love that in a lot of the episodes, when the experts are teaching them a technique, like there's times where Nicole says, "Hey, I want to do it too." And so they bring over, so like Nicole and
That's
Jacques will
cool.
do,
Yeah.
and like he'll be kind of guiding her. And the
Nice.
second last episode is the chocolate episode. And so Jacques Torres, who is, so I probably should back up for the people that aren't familiar with Nailed It. Jacques Torres and Nicole Byer are like, Nicole's the host and he's the judge,
Mhm.
basically, but they kind of both host and they kind of both judge. And they have been all along. And I love that they've kept them together because their chemistry is, it's actually really good at this point. I don't think I would have guessed that like a stand-up comedian with an excellent chef would be
Right. The pairing.
Chat GPT, write us that romance.
Right. Oh my God. That's hilarious.
Right. And I do not want the Nicole Byer, Jacques Torres romance. I mean, take those two types and write
Make him
out,
queer.
make them queer. That's right. But I loved that in that episode because Jacques Torres is a chocolate like
Cheer.
expert. Yeah, thank
Mhm.
you. He's a chocolatier, which means chocolate expert. He
Uh,
did the he taught the technique in that one. So
mm,
actually, these people got to learn from literally a world-class chocolatier, and the experts were doing it as well. Like it was this master class in a
oh,
technique
cool.
that
Yeah. I would
even the
totally jump in.
right? Because the experts were like, "Oh my god, this was hard." They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna learn from him too." And it was like, "Fuck yes." So I think I love that show. If there were any queer, if I knew for sure that any of the contestants were queer, it probably would have been an actual recommendation for me.
Mm,
But
mhm.
like the bonds they form are so sweet.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, like there's a really great camaraderie in the cast as it goes along, like less
Mhm.
so upfront, but as they get to know each other, it's great. You can tell that all the people working on it have really grown to care about each other. And the emphasis of progress over perfection is
Nice.
so wonderful to have in a competitive reality show. So
Mhm.
I really love it. And it's down to 3 and I kind of don't care who wins. Like
That's sweet. Yeah, I like that. I like
yeah,
it when
but
a show does that where you don't care who wins because you love
yes.
them all. Yeah.
Yes. It's
Oh, good.
wonderful. And then so we talked to Lawrence Lindell in a recent bonus episode, author of Blackward, which, I've been banging on about all over the place because I love it so much. If you haven't listened to that episode where I talk about how much I love it, or listen to the episode where we interview him, where I also tell him how much I love it, um, check those out. But he said that so when we interviewed him, he was actually at some kind of a comic expo or
Mhm.
conference or something like that. And he said he wanted to check out Mimosa by Archie Bongiovanni. So I checked out Mimosa by Archie
Mm,
Bongiovanni. I read it yesterday, and I think I'm honestly still processing how I feel about it.
mm.
So it's about these 4 friends. They're all queer. They've been in this friend group for a decade. They used to work together at a restaurant, and the way how like when you're young or
Oh, yeah.
younger, working in those kinds of like high stress situations, and you form these bonds and you stay friends long past working there. And so we have, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember all the character names and I don't have the book next to me. So we have Kris, who is non-binary and single parent after, getting divorced in such a spectacular fashion that
Mm.
Kris lost most of their friend group.
Ugh.
That isn't like anyone that's not a part of this friends group, Kris really isn't friends with anymore because of the way the divorce went down. There's Alex, who is a trans man and he is an artist. There's Joe, who is a trans woman. Her main passion is actually running this queer rock camp for kids.
Mm,
Um,
cool.
And sorry, when I say kids, I think I mean more like teenagers, not like teeny tiny kids. But I mean, I'm middle-aged. I think everybody's a kid at this point.
I know. I call
Uh,
everybody kids.
right? And then there's the other one. Fuck, what's her name? Anyway, I'm sorry, but there's the other one whose name I
The other one.
cannot presently remember, but she's a cisgender lesbian who has a crush on her boss and also is hoping to get a promotion. And so it's kind of like these four adults being messy, like what happens when queer adults are messy in friendships,
Mm.
and can they make it? Can they not? And a lot of it centers around Kris, the one who's kind of been divorced, is having a hard time meeting somebody new. And like it's hard because when going to the queer clubs, it's all these really young people. Kris is turning
Mhm.
40. Kris doesn't want to be with somebody who's 20 or 20, I suppose. No, I'm thinking in Canadian bar terms. At least 21, we'll say
Yeah.
for the US. But like, these kids basically that are at the clubs and it's not working and wants to meet somebody. And so Alex is like, well, what if we put on a dance party for older queers? Like, what if we did that? And so they do. And so that's kind of the backdrop of a lot of what's happening is setting up these queer dance parties. They call it grind. I think some of the dialogue is really fun. I think the characters are interesting and nuanced. But I think if you like stories that end in a way that are neat and tidy, this is probably not going to be the book
Mm.
for you. I think for people who are okay with just like really messy stories that don't have, sorry, it's not that the story is messy. If you are okay with stories about really messy people and where things don't resolve neatly at the end, and then you're left kind of thinking about it and talking to people around you and saying, like, I need to talk about this because I
Mhm.
don't know how I feel about it. This is the book for you. Because I know there are people who like that and there are people that
Yeah.
hate that. And so I think it's going to be an extremely polarizing book. And I think that's okay. And I think even the fact that, like, I'm having to hold myself back from saying a lot right now because I want to get into the guts of it, but I don't want to spoil anything. And you also haven't read it. So I know you
Right.
love me, so you would let me do it.
Right.
But also, let's not do that. But if anybody does read it and wants to talk about it, reach out to me, email podcast@queerlyrecommended.com. Let's talk about this graphic novel. Kris,
Yes.
what is your official recommendation this week?
Yay. Okay, so my official recommendation is a documentary on Netflix from 2017, and it's called Gaga, 5'2".
She's just got a flex about how tall she is, doesn't
Right. I
she?
was gonna say, like, towers over you. Just an
Rude.
FYI. Right.
Rude.
It documents the events around the production and release of Gaga's fifth studio album, Joanne, and her performance at Super Bowl 51. So music and football, and I'm in. Like, because why wouldn't I want this, right?
Hell yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start off by saying that I know Lady Gaga's music because how can you be queer and not know
Or just how
paparazzi?
can you be alive and not
Not know, exactly. So, Paparazzi, Bad Romance, Poker Face, A Million
Mhm.
Reasons, and of course our anthem, Born This Way. So
Mhm.
I didn't know a lot about her personal life. I really didn't. I really wasn't interested in knowing. I mean, the only thing that really, yes, I love her music. It's not like I need to go buy the music and stuff. It's like when I'd hear it, I'd be like, oh, that's a cool song. Who sings that? Oh, of course Lady Gaga does. It's one of those where I like more songs than I realize that I like.
Mhm.
It's that kind of a deal. And of course, we all like A Star Is Born was an amazing movie. And we all wanted to know if like she was hooking up with Bradley Cooper. I mean, for those who watched the movie.
Oh
And did you watch
yes,
it?
there was
You watched it?
no, I've seen
Ah, damn.
I have
Come on.
seen I knew what it was about is my problem because that's a movie that's been made. Isn't that like the
Oh
fourth or
yeah.
fifth
It's
version
been
of it?
it has been.
So if you want a sense of what kind of childhood I had, I think when I was about 12, my mom showed me the version with Barbara Streisand and
Oh
Chris
yes.
Christopherson.
Well, it's always nice to see like remakes only because can they do better? Can they improve on it? And
Yeah.
it's hard when you have Barbara Streisand singing, but oh my God.
Hmm.
I mean, Lady Gaga kills this movie. This movie, like it
Yeah.
was so good. I made my mom watch it. My mom hates
Whoa.
musicals. And I also found out in this documentary that her goal when she was a teenager was acting.
Really?
I had no idea. Like she goes, there's a scene where she's at her grandma's and there's a picture, she's like headshot, acting headshot. And it's just, it's a really interesting photo because it looks like it's from 1970s. The headshot looks like it's from 1970s, and
That's cool.
she's a baby, she's real young.
Yeah.
And I did not know about the acting part. I thought she was like a musician turned actor, like Madonna and Whitney Houston, who are absolutely horrible in their acting. Sorry,
Hey.
League of Their Own was good, but I mean,
hey,
I know.
When I was a kid, I loved, and I don't think I can watch this again.
Right.
But
Dick Tracy.
oh, yes. Also, I did not understand at the time why I was so drawn to Madonna in that movie, which as an adult, I'm like, you got a crush, dumbass.
Right.
No, but that's a good pull that I forgot about. Who's that girl? Which is a romantic comedy that she was in.
That was awful.
Which is why I need to leave it in the past, because I thought it was amazing when I was 10.
Desperately Seeking Susan.
I don't think I saw that one.
Desperately Seeking Susan.
The name is familiar.
Rosanna Arquette. She falls and hits her head or something, and she wakes up thinking she's Susan. Madonna.
Oh.
So
I
Madonna's not a
that
great
doesn't
actress.
Hold up either.
Yeah,
No.
none of the movies held up. So, and then Whitney Houston in The Bodyguard. Oh my goodness,
so bad. Best soundtrack for the worst movie.
Oh my gosh, for sure.
Like,
but yeah, that was horrible acting. Horrible.
Not even a question.
So Lady Gaga, over the years, she has either identified as bisexual or has said she's an ally, and there's some controversy there. So you have to look that up.
That sounds kind of similar to what happened with Sinead O'Connor too.
Right.
Wasn't she like
very
that?
Similar. Yeah, very similar. Yes. She started off like, I'm 75% lesbian, and then all of a sudden it's like, maybe 25% lesbian. So it was like a deal.
I mean,
so
we're
Lady
all
Gaga,
a little bit gay, baby.
For sure. We're on the spectrum. So I want to talk about several things I learned about Lady Gaga that I didn't know, and that people who are like me, who like are familiar with her music and like her music, this is something that I did not know, and it really helps understand her and appreciate her more as an artist and just as a person. Like, because you think Lady Gaga, you think, oh, this massive like showboat type person, always wants the attention, does things like for attention. Because like you and I talked a little bit about the meat dress and where that came from 2010. So, but like that's a whole different topic. So here's the thing. She struggles with fibromyalgia. She has chronic pain.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she broke her hip. I don't know how old she was. Maybe 27. She broke her hip. So she has chronic pain. She broke her hip. She has all these people who have to work on her daily, massage her, like fix her. And she's like, I am fortunate because I have the money to pay for this. But she goes, for all the people who struggle with this, they don't have the same comfort, like level of comfort that I can get, and it's so sad to see, she cries a lot. I mean, I'm not going to lie. She cries a lot, and she cries a lot for different reasons. One, she's in a lot of pain all the time. What is she going to be like in 20 and 30 years from now? Like, my body aches, and I know it's because I played sports for so many years of my life. And now I'm like, I get off the couch and I'm walking like I'm 90. So, and her performances are incredibly physical.
Yeah. That's where it's interesting, because I mean, you're seeing her talk about this in that documentary, and it was so like 6 years ago that it came out. So she was probably around 30 at that time.
She was born in 86, so almost 30. 30.
Yeah, so it might have been filmed kind of around that time. And I think what's interesting is that what you're seeing is, she has a super intensive physical requirements for her career. Could you imagine if she was just like somebody who had to work a regular job and didn't have access to the world's best doctors, or could have like a team of professionals, presumably, who can help her keep her body in good enough shape that she can pursue the career that she wants.
And that was one thing she cried about. She was like, I just don't understand. Like, how can people survive this without all this extra care that, she's getting, that she's very emotional. Like, she met a fan. This one fan was crying and thought that they were this fan just thought that they were going to record a message for Lady Gaga, but it was one of those like secret sneak up from behind type things. And Lady Gaga was just, she cries. Like, people just love her music. And I guess like her fan base knows how emotional she is about them and how fierce she is about them. And definitely, like, you could see that. Definitely you could see that. And I appreciated that, because like I said, when you see her on all these shows, or you see her like red carpet, she's always like nose in the air type thing. Look at my outfit that I have that's so extravagant, and like focus on the outfit, not on me type thing. So that was very genuine to see. And that kind of surprised me. And there's another scene, you know, she's very close with her family. Like, it's so funny, like the whole documentary opens and she's like cooking eggs or something, or chicken on the stove. You know, she's like wearing sweatpants, no makeup. She's just a normal person. Like I would go hang with her for brunch. You know, it's one of those where her, what are you fixing for brunch? I'll bring like the mimosas or something. She was very down to earth, and she has a bunch of dogs. Why they weren't sleeping with her in the bed, I don't know. They were in a different room. And that kind of surprised me, because, you know, my dogs get all of my dogs in the history.
What if it's because she has fibromyalgia and she needs
That's
to sleep,
true.
and 5 dogs would means no sleeping?
Well, okay. Yes, that's probably true. But she goes to her grandmother's house. So, okay, let's backstory. Her 5th album is Joanne. And that was named for her aunt who passed away when her aunt was 19. Like, her aunt died as a teenager from lupus, complications from lupus. Yeah. And so at 19, so she wrote this song and she played it for her grandmother. So it would have been her grandmother's daughter, you know, and then dedicated the whole album to that. And of course, you know, you're always going to get people who are just big dicks about everything. Like, like, oh, she did it for money, or, you know, she did it for attention, or whatever the deal was. But, oh, look, you're pulling it up.
I am, because I want to see if there are any famous songs on it.
Yes, there are. Million Reasons.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the big one that I'm aware of, that I was like, oh yeah, that song. I know that one. So she plays a song for her grandmother. It's kind of a touching scene. And I want to say that it was really cool to find out that she was engaged to an actor in a show that at some point I'm going to recommend for the show. Let's talk about the Super Bowl halftime show. They don't actually show it in the documentary. They show before she goes on stage, and then the after effects, like hugging and crying. It's really sweet. So you don't actually see the show.
So if you want to see, couldn't get the rights, or or the rights were way too expensive.
Well, it's all over YouTube now. So,
okay.
So if you watch the documentary and you want to see what the performance is like, YouTube it. And let me tell you, like, you know, it used to be maybe 10 years ago, the Super Bowl halftime show was nothing. It was always kind of like has-beens, sort of, in a way. I hate to say that, but it was never like new, fresh, exciting, you know. And then Lady Gaga gets this gig, and she is beyond excited to do this. Like, she's like, there's going to be 100 million people watching us. Like, we have to get this right. And she's like, and it's funny because you can tell her anxiety was like out of 10, because she's like, I can't have this material on me, because it clashes with the other material against my skin. And it just, you know, she's like very sensory overload, like at that point, you know, because it's so stressful. It was funny because I remember watching it. I remember seeing it because my parents were there. Like, we had this big Super Bowl party somewhere. I don't know if it was here or at my sister's house. So she starts singing, you know, she sings whatever she sings. I don't remember what she does at the beginning. And then she like jumps, and she like, not really skydive. She's on like wires, and she comes down. And my parents are like, what the actual fuck? Like, why can't she just sit on a stage and sing? You know, why does it have to be all this, like, her looping, flying around? It was actually a very good halftime show, and nailed it. No problems that I could tell. Very, very good. And it was just cool that she was really encouraging to her dancers, like, hey, let's have fun. Let's remember that, you know, we're here for fun, but also this is your time. Like, everybody's going to be watching. This is your time to get it right, and just do your part, and blah, blah, blah. So it's very encouraging to hear that, you know, that she also is telling people, like, also on the flip side, like, don't fuck this up for me, because this is really big, and it's not on you, it's on me. like if the lighting doesn't work, that's on me. That's not on you. So
Yeah.
she made sure like everybody was in line and getting it right. And good for her. So
Mhm.
basically, like what this is, if you like Gaga's music, but you're like me and you don't know much about her, like watch this documentary. It'll give you insight to the person behind the personas that you see like in, on the internet, or what is that show, TMZ, or
Mhm.
anything Entertainment Tonight. Like if you want to get to know a little bit about what she's like, then take an hour and a half and watch this documentary.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
I think I will. I
I
like
think you
her.
should.
I think I'm similar to you in that I like her, and I've always liked a lot of her music, but it was kind of like growing up with Madonna,
Right. It's a
or
much,
like
yeah.
growing up with any of the where it's like, yeah, I like this music, but like I'm not necessarily obsessed with them. I haven't dove into their backstory. And I mean, that was me with George Michael, right? Like I was aware of the
Right.
5 songs that I was aware of. But then I only listened to George Michael for the month following watching that documentary.
Right. And then
So
it's like, yeah, okay. Well, to be fair, like I grew up a huge Madonna fan, like massive
Mhm.
Madonna fan. So when Lady Gaga came on scene, and she wore the meat dress, I was like, oh, she reminds me a lot of Madonna. Like very shocking, like the shock
Mhm.
value of I'm an artist, look at what I'm doing. You can't, censor me, you can't stifle me type thing. And so Madonna was very good at that. And I felt like Lady Gaga was kind of like in her footsteps type thing. And so they kind of
Mhm.
have a little history. So, and
Yeah.
she sort of kind of talks about it in the documentary as well. So that was kind of like, wow, I
Mhm.
was right. So, so okay. So what about you? What is your official recommendation this time?
All right. So, as I said, we talked to Lawrence Lindell recently, and at the end of that episode, as we do kind of whenever we interview anybody, we ask, what books do you or what queer media do you recommend? And it turns out that I am recommending the same thing that Lawrence recommended,
Ah,
which is the graphic novel Bingo Love. It's by, so T. Franklin is the author, Jen St. Ange is the artist, and it's about Mary and Elle. So Elle is the one who is telling the story. This is a story that has a framing narrative. I think that's what it's called. I hope all my former English professors will forgive me if I, I didn't say that exactly right. But the idea is that in a framing narrative, there's the main story, but it's someone, it starts with like, oh, there's this one character who is telling the other character the story. And then you dive into the story. And so, probably one of the most famous examples and also hated by high schoolers or
mm.
university students everywhere is Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad is
Oh
like
yeah.
that. That book, as an aside, I had to read it in grade 11, which like who the fuck assigns that to
Right.
16-year-olds?
I
Um
read it in college, I think.
and I was so keen that say if I had to do a book report and they would give us 5 options, I would read all 5 books, or I would read at
Of
least 3 of the
course you
books,
would.
but I would write a report on one of them. Right.
You would
And
write a report on all three of them. Stop it.
no, I would do all the reading, but I would only do the writing that I had to. But no, that's as an adult, I would do that. No, so for that book though, I had such a hard time understanding what was being said, and like I was a pretty smart kid. It was just this book was so hard
Mhm.
that I tried reading the Cole's notes for it, which Cole's notes for the people who are young, or I don't even know if they had them in the US, they were sold at Cole's bookstores. And it was basically a
Mm.
synopsis of a book. So you could pay for someone to tell you what a
Oh
book
yeah.
was about. And I even got the Cole's notes for that one, which I never did because I always did the reading. And I didn't understand the Cole's notes either.
Oh wow.
So since then, my feelings have mainly been fuck Heart of Darkness. Fuck that book. This is much better than that, though. And so the story begins with a panel where somebody is saying, like, Elle, can I stay with you? My parents have kicked me out
Mm.
for loving another girl. And she's like, well, yeah, let me tell you my story. And so she's telling this person her story about the love of her life, and the love of her life is Mary. And they met at, so they're both black girls. They were 13 at the time. They met at the bingo that was happening at the church hall. They were each there with their grandmothers. Mary was new to town. She was sent to stay with her grandmother. and they were kind of introduced like, maybe you'll get along, and they do. So for Elle, it's love at first sight, and she's afraid to say anything, and so they're just best friends. They are each other's person. They spend all their time together, and a few years later, it turns out that they're actually in love with each other, and these true feelings come out, and it's this like beautiful, exciting. I mean, for Elle to find out that her love was in fact not unrequited, but
Mhm.
that, Mary is in love back with her was so wonderful. But Mary's grandmother catches them kissing,
Oh,
and it's the 1960s.
oh, we're just
And
practicing, grandma,
right.
Nana.
So they're kind of split up, and Elle's parents put this kind of fairly nice young man from, I can't remember if he was Air Force or military, and she marries him the following year. Elle is bisexual, but it's, they each marry men. They have kids. 50 years later,
Wow.
Elle goes to the Mother's Day bingo at that same church hall, and Mary is there
Mm,
and kisses her.
stop it. Like kiss, kiss, or just like a
Mhm.
missed you? Oh, a kiss, kiss.
Uh-huh. And
Oh.
Elle's daughter is there when it
Oh,
happens.
she probably doesn't care at this point, 50 years
And,
later.
well, here's the thing, it's a second chance
Mm,
romance. And so it's kind of the like, how do they have this second chapter together? And I mean, on the back, it's very clear that like they have their other lives, but they have this chance again. So I don't think it's that big of a spoiler to say they split up with their husbands and they end up together. And it's just really
mm,
lovely. So I there were a bunch of things that I really liked about it. I thought the art was so beautiful. The
mm.
colors are really vibrant. It feels very, very comic booky.
Oh,
And I really liked Mary and Elle's characters. They're both strong-willed in their own ways. They're both these really like kind of wonderful, effervescent kind of characters, except, Elle not being that happy in her marriage. Like she's
mm,
happy enough. Her husband is a good man. They have kind of this wonderful family together. But I mean, I'm sure we all have friends like this, but like the friend who they're married and you can tell like she's okay, but she could be happier.
mhm.
And it's kind of one of those situations. And so seeing who they become together is so wonderful. And so when it cuts back to kind of the other side of the frame, because of course it's Elle telling this story to someone else,
Mm.
what the quote unquote present day of this story is 2038. And so keeping in mind that this was first published in 2018.
Mhm.
So it's
Oh, okay.
projecting, yeah, like it's guessing, okay, where could technology go 20 years in the future? That's probably a little bit out of reach, but kind of like believable enough that I'm trying to
AI.
figure out how to do this without spoiling it. But there's just like a really cool thing that's done there that works really, really
Mm.
well. And in a way, because of that, it reminded me of, did you ever watch, what is it called? Black Mirror?
Oh my god.
Okay, so there's one episode. I've only seen one episode, and it's the only one, and I actually would recommend it. But
No.
it's called San Junipero. No, 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 it's the gay one. It's the lesbian
Oh,
episode.
okay. Can I tell you a
So
story about that?
yes,
Black Mirror? Can I tell you a
yes.
story?
Did you
I'm
watch the
I
pig fucking episode?
fuck Georgia Beers for that. Like, she recommended it for me, and I'm like, because 'cause I'm like, "Hey, I don't have anything to watch. What do you think?" This was, yeah, I don't know however long ago it was. And she's like, "Yeah, watch Black Mirror. It's really, really good." Like, I didn't get through the whole episode, and I'm calling her. I'm like, "What the fuck did you have me watch?"
Okay,
Like,
go
yes, that
find
very first episode, like, messed me up, and I, like, every time I see it, can't get past, like, every time I, like, see it up
right.
on the queue, I'm like, "No."
So find the episode called San Junipero. It
Okay,
is
San
not
Junipero.
like
Alright,
that at all.
I'm coming for you if it
It
is.
has no, it has a sapphic love story in it.
Mm, mhm.
It's really beautiful, but it has that kind of, oh, okay, this is where technology could go, but most of the
Okay.
story looks like a 1980s kind of
Okay.
situation. So it
Alright,
sort
I'll
of
give it a try.
reminds me of that in that little sense. But there is a twist kind of around there that when I realized what was happening, I started to cry. It was really lovely.
Oh, damn
Um,
it.
so I think for me, in terms of like a wish list, we'll
Mhm,
say, because I do think it's a good story. I think there's something very special about showing a love story with older women,
mhm.
and especially older Black women. Like, it's just not something I've seen very often. There was like one short story I read once that Rebecca Weatherspoon wrote that I fucking wish she would have turned into a full-length novel, but it would have been more of a women's fiction, I think. Kris, you had your hand up.
I did. I have a question about so how old are they at the end? Because if it's like 38, 2038, but this takes place in 1963 and they were 13, that makes them 88.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's much older. Okay.
So when they get back together, they're 65. So they have a little over 20 years
Okay. Okay, I'm following
together
now.
before it
Gotcha.
gets to this part. Yeah.
Okay. All right, because I
Um
was like, how is this working in my head? Oh,
I
okay.
know, I did the same thing, and thankfully, this is one of the things I actually really appreciate about it is that, like, it will actually put, like, what year it is at different points within the
Oh,
story
nice.
so that you
Yeah.
can follow. I actually wish it went into more detail. I feel like
Mm.
the story could have had a little more room to breathe. It is quite short. There's some, like, very large time jumps, and there were some times where it felt like I was being told than rather shown certain things,
Oh, yeah.
whether it was in their relationship together, Elle's marriage to James, kind of whatever. But I also think that the reason why I made such a big deal about it being a framed narrative is that I also think that's where you can get away with something like that. Because it is Elle telling a story to another individual person, you can read it in the amount of time that it would make sense for her to have this conversation and to tell all of these details. And I think, you know, as much as I, as a reader and a critic, want that more detail, I want to be shown, I want to kind of luxuriate in relationship developments. I also recognize that that's not how individuals tell stories. And so I think that what we get, I think this is where like my one complaint might actually be a strength in that I think it pretty accurately reflects the way she would tell her story to that person in that way at that time. I actually think it is enough if we are to take what is this story that she would tell, that is the story.
Mm.
I'm just greedy. I want more.
You want more.
So it turns out that I read the original version because when Lawrence was talking about Bingo Love and how it was so inspiring to him, and he realized, oh, I can make comments like this, or I can make comics like this. It turns out that we had the original edition, which as you're reading through, it gets to a point. So when Elle is telling her husband that they need to split up, we find out that he has a secret too that he's
Ooh,
been keeping from her from
secret
when he
family.
was like off on deployment early in their marriage.
Mm.
And then there's this little note in there that's like, if you want to know more, find Bingo Love Secrets by this other dude. And I was like, I want to know more. What? And then I just couldn't
Yes.
find it. You can't find it as a standalone, but you can get Bingo Love, the Jackpot Edition, which has a number of other stories set
Oh,
in this
cool.
world, including there's one that Gail Simone did, which I'm very excited about because she's an awesome, awesome, awesome comic writer.
Mm.
She's also my favorite follow on Twitter because when Gail Simone decides she's going to stir the pot and make comic nerds mad, it's the funniest thing that you'll find. It's belligerent, it's hilarious. So finding out that she was a part of this, I was so excited. So I actually went ahead because I read this yesterday and I immediately ordered that
Oh,
next
good.
one because not only do I want to know, but my youngest also wants to know. So here is my note. You can absolutely give this to a kid to read. They say it's rated for teens. Again, if you have a precocious kid in your life, that is not going to be a problem. There's no sex, there's no violence, there is absolutely homophobia, which is not surprising given
Right.
that, again, like 1960s, split up by their parents. I don't even think the homophobia is let's say it could have been a lot worse. They could have been depicted in a way that was way, way, way worse than what they did. It was just enough to show that they were never going to be allowed to be together. At the time, it wasn't so much so to be painful. There's no physical violence. There's not even that much saying anything. So kids can read it, but make sure you read it first if you don't want to be spoiled, because kids are really bad at that.
Yeah.
And my kid read it before I did. She's like, "Can I just tell you this one thing?" And I'd be like, "No." And then she would tell me anyway. And so a bunch of it I sort of knew. Thankfully, she did not tell me about the twist, which I think is why I still ended up crying when I read it, because I didn't know it was coming. I thought I already knew everything was going to happen. Then it was like, "Hey, guess what? Punch in the face." Yeah.
Love that.
But like, she wants to know, because before I had a chance to read, she was like, "We need to find what's James's secret?" I was like, "What are you talking about? I need to know James's secret. What are we talking about?" Bingo, love. James has a secret. I was like, "Okay, we'll try to find it." So she is also excited to read it when it arrives tomorrow. So we will know James's secret together. So yes,
let me know.
I will. So for people, if you like comic books or graphic novels, if you want to see older Black women falling in love, because good luck finding this in many other places, there's something really special, I think, about it. And even if you might have an experience like me where you find that you just want a little more, but I still think it's worthwhile. And I think it's an important contribution to the world of sapphic literature, because it's doing something so different. Like, I just haven't quite seen it before. So thank you, Lawrence, for pointing that out and reminding me to read this thing that I should have read a long time ago, because it's really beautiful. And also, like, one of them is fat, which I fucking love. Again, how much fat representation do we see in sapphic fiction?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah. So I'm into it. That's all for this episode. Thank you so much for joining. If you've enjoyed the show, you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure that you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, if you have a friend that you think would like it, please tell them about it. If you want to support us, we have links in our show notes to our coffee and the newsletter sign up.
Or if you want to connect with us on your favorite social media sites, we have links in the show notes for that too. Or you can just search for Queerly Recommended on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter, or email us at podcast@queerlyrecommended.com. Goodbye, everyone. I'm going to send you a picture of it right now.
All right. Oh my God, this is amazing. So what you're saying is you could be on our own.
I actually could. I'm the survivalist. Not really, but here, hang on. Let me send you this picture. It's pretty hilarious.
I'm opening my WhatsApp.
I always hate WhatsApp because you have to like add pictures. It doesn't have access to all of your
text me
pictures,
then.
camera.
I have US texting.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Well, now I'm in, so let me pick it. Where's the picture? Where's the picture? Where's the picture? No, I'm going to text it to you instead. Hold on. This is too good not to share. Sorry, Neil. You have to do some editing. Come on. Message. Tara. It always takes a minute for you to pull. Are you in my iPhone? I don't show you in my iPhone. Why are you send me a message on iPhone through message? What?
You definitely have texted me before.
Have I? Okay. So you're not showing up.
You sent me a farm boy.
Oh, that's right. Farm boy. I wrote down farm boy. This is okay. Cancel. All right. Here we go. Let me find you. Because you're not in my, I don't have you saved. You're just a phone number. So I need to actually add this.
Wow.
I know that. I'm sorry. You're on my WhatsApp though. All right. So let me send you this picture. You're going to be like, first of all, I sent it to a couple of my girlfriends and they're like, how are you so butch in these pictures? So there, it's coming to you.
And you said, first of all, rude.
Yeah.
Second of all,
I know.